Welcome back to my channel, Silent Heroes. This channel never lets heroes be forgotten, ever, not for a second. Today, the United States Marine Corps Recruit Depot is alive, buzzing with anticipation. The sun scorches the asphalt, turning the parade ground into a shimmer of heat and light. Brass gleams, boots strike with perfect precision, flags snap in the breeze, and music from the band carries across the morning air. Families line the stands, cameras poised, phones raised, hands waving. Tears shine and eyes swollen with pride. And then there is her, Brenda Lo. Ordinary, quiet, invisible to anyone who does not know how to look. She came to see her son graduate, nothing more. Brenda's steps are slow, deliberate, each footfall measured, hands clasped loosely in front, her posture serene, her expression calm but carrying a weight, an unseen gravity that seems to draw in the attention of those trained to notice anomalies. Her hair, tied back against the humidity, clings slightly to her neck, glinting under the harsh morning light. To the casual observer, she is nothing remarkable, but anyone trained to sense history in motion would see it. Discipline in her gait, unspoken experience in her eyes, a calmness forged in fires the world will never know. Her son, Adam, marches past in formation, eyes scanning the crowd for the familiar face. When their eyes meet, there is a silent exchange, years of understanding compressed into a heartbeat. The world narrows to that connection, mother and son, past and present colliding for one fleeting instant. The band plays on, drums booming, the ceremonial march echoing, but Brenda hears only the rhythmic beating of her own heart, the silent memory of long nights and faraway battles. Pride radiates in her smile, soft and restrained, yet it carries decades of invisible scars. Then, suddenly, a shadow appears in her path. Captain Hayes, young, sharp, perfectly drilled, his uniform immaculate, his posture rigid, jawline hard as granite. His eyes scan the area like a predator, trained to spot anomalies, threats, disruptions. He steps in front of her. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area," he says, voice clipped, crisp, cutting through the air like steel. There is no warmth, no hesitation, only command. Brenda inclines her head politely. "I'm sorry, Captain. I was just trying to get a little closer to the parade deck. My son is graduating today." Calm, measured, controlled. The captain's gaze lingers longer than protocol allows. There is a flicker in his eyes, almost imperceptible, yet electric. Then he sees it, the tattoo. Small, partially hidden beneath her sleeve, yet unmistakable. Something snaps in his mind, a jolt he cannot explain. His body freezes mid-step, hand half raised. The parade, the music, the cheering, everything falls away. Time slows, heartbeats stretch into eternity. Memory assaults him with fragments, faces, operations, ghosts thought long gone. His breath catches. Brenda senses it, the sudden stillness around her, the shift in the captain's posture. It is subtle but undeniable. Heads turn, whispering, curious. She walks on, slow, unhurried, yet the air around her is charged. Something extraordinary has been revealed in the briefest flash. A tattoo, a mark, a key to a story hidden deep beneath layers of secrecy. Hayes cannot move. He does not know why. He only sees the ink, and instinct screams at him with a truth he cannot yet name. The parade continues, boots striking pavement, flags snapping, families cheering, oblivious to the seismic shift in front of them. But for Hayes, nothing else exists. The tattoo pulses like a beacon. He remembers whispers of classified operations, names buried in forgotten files, reports long thought erased. And in that single moment, he realizes he is in the presence of someone who should have been a ghost, a legend, someone erased from history but standing right there in the sunlight, ordinary and terrifying all at once. Brenda's son marches past, unaware of the storm that has erupted mere yards away. His pride, his focus, his discipline, all visible, all untouched. She watches him, her calm mask unbroken. Beneath it, however, a thrill runs like fire through her chest, the thrill of being seen, recognized in the smallest possible way by someone who has no idea the full truth. Hayes's realization creeps forward, slow and terrifying. He is not ready. He is too young, too arrogant, too bound by rules to comprehend the magnitude of the woman in front of him. Suddenly, the crowd reacts, sensing tension even if they cannot name it. Some parents glance over, puzzled. Whispers spread. The captain's hand twitches, instinctively raised. His lips part as if to speak, yet no sound emerges. He is trapped in the pull of history, caught between protocol and instinct, between what he knows and what he fears. Brenda walks on, each step deliberate, her presence commanding without sound. Time stretches and contracts, heartbeats echoing like artillery, drums of the band blending with invisible explosions from decades past. A flicker of sunlight catches the tattoo, revealing twin snakes coiled around a dagger, a K-bar etched with precision, a date marking something long buried. Hayes steps back, almost imperceptibly, the recognition washing over him like cold water. He does not yet understand who she is, not yet, but he knows, deep inside, that this ordinary mother is extraordinary. That ink is a memory, a warning, a story, a legacy. It is impossible and undeniable, and yet the rest of the audience sees nothing but a mother standing calmly on the parade ground. Brenda's gaze shifts, sweeping across the parade deck, finding her son. A faint smile plays across her lips, carrying the weight of history, of battles fought in shadows, of lives saved in moments that the world will never know. Hayes cannot look away. He is paralyzed, caught in the gravitational pull of a story he cannot yet name, cannot yet articulate. He has seen only a fragment, a spark, but it is enough to make him stumble, to make him question, to make him recognize the impossible. The parade continues mechanically. Boots strike the asphalt, flags snap, the music swells, families cheer, cameras flash. But beneath the sun, beneath the cheers, a story as old as fire pulses quietly, tethering the past to the present. Hayes blinks, shakes his head, tries to regain composure, but the weight of that ink, that moment, that presence refuses to let him go. The air vibrates with tension, electric, palpable, unspoken. Her son's eyes meet hers again. The connection, simple and profound, is unbroken. The crowd remains oblivious, but for those who sense the shift, the energy is undeniable. Brenda has survived battles the world will never know, the silence of legends etched into her very skin. Hayes feels a shiver of recognition, respect, fear, all mixed into a single, confusing, unstoppable wave. And still, he cannot move. He can only watch, caught between protocol and awe, his world reshaped in an instant by a single mark on her wrist. The moment stretches, suspended between breaths, between footsteps, between the applause of families and the memory of gunfire, dust, and shadows. Brenda's calm contrasts with Hayes's frozen panic. Her presence radiates quiet authority, invisible yet unyielding. Every eye that glimpses her, even unconsciously, senses it. This is not ordinary. This is not mundane. The air hums with it, trembles with it. And then, in the final heartbeat before the grandstand, before the next step, the thought that claws into the audience's mind, the whisper that settles in their consciousness. This is not just a graduation story. The tattoo, it glimmered under the Carolina sun, small, almost trivial at first glance. But to anyone who knew, anyone who had been there, it was not trivial at all. Captain Hayes could not take his eyes off it. The snakes coiled perfectly around the K-bar, the date etched in precise black ink. It was more than decoration. There was a story there, a story buried in shadows, classified for decades. And Hayes, trained to notice, to read the past in every mark, felt it hit him like a thunderclap. A legend had just walked back into the world, unnoticed by all but him. As Brenda adjusted her bag, the tattoo peeked again from beneath her sleeve. Hayes felt his pulse quicken. Memories he thought were locked away suddenly forced themselves forward. Dusty photos, confidential reports, whispered briefings from long-vanished commanders. Names he had thought were erased flashed before his eyes. And then a silentless shiver ran through him because he recognized the mark. Not just the design, but the story it represented. A mission over 20 years ago, hidden from public record. Europe, Middle East, a place still scarred by war. And she had been there. The parade ground receded from his mind. Drums and boots faded into a distant hum. In his imagination, he was suddenly 25 years younger, standing in a desert at dusk, the smell of gunpowder and dust thick in his lungs. Shadows flickered in the corners of ruined buildings, the air tense with enemy presence. A team moved with precision, silent, deadly, their every motion practiced yet improvisational. He remembered briefings, intelligence reports marked top secret, lists of operatives, all gone now, erased. But the tattoo confirmed it. She had survived. She had been there. Brenda had never been a soldier's widow. She had never been someone's supportive shadow, as the public might assume. She was the backbone, the silent force that kept a classified mission alive when the world thought the team had been annihilated. The tattoo was not a memorial. It was a mark of belonging, a covenant, a declaration that she had been present where death had danced freely, where others had vanished, where history had tried to forget her. Every line of ink represented a life saved, a secret maintained, a story that had been nearly erased from memory. Captain Hayes's perspective twisted. He felt anger first, a hot, burning rage aimed not at her, but at the bureaucracy, the silence of the government that had erased every record of what had happened. How many had died because the world refused to see? How many had been forgotten, hidden in archives that no one would ever touch? And there she stood, a mother, seemingly ordinary, carrying decades of heroism in a quiet tattoo. The audacity of it, the injustice, made his blood burn. And then came the guilt, survivor's guilt. He remembered the operation with painful clarity now. The streets of a bombed-out city, the smoke, the chaos, the endless calls for help over the radio. He had believed everyone else dead, wiped off the planet, claimed by the sands and rubble of history. But she had survived. She had lived. She had carried on. And not just survived, she had saved lives, kept the mission alive, all while remaining invisible to the world. He had mourned them, honored them silently, but one had walked back into his life today. One had defied death, defied history, defied the rules that said she should not exist. Brenda's calmness struck him harder than the revelation itself. She moved with the quiet authority of someone who had seen horrors too vast to name. Hayes, trained to command, to lead, to respond to threats, felt suddenly unprepared, unworthy, and exposed. He realized that the ink on her wrist was not just a mark, it was a language, a key to secrets that only the initiated could read, and he was reading them now, unwillingly, helplessly, with awe and fear tangled deep in his chest. Flashbacks hit him like gunfire. He saw the night they had landed, dust choking the air, the call of enemy fire echoing in abandoned alleys. The classified team, supposed to be lost forever, moving through chaos, executing a plan so delicate, so deadly, that one wrong step could erase them from existence. And at the heart of it, she had been there. Brenda Lo, moving through rubble, applying field medicine, guiding soldiers through fire. Her presence calm but lethal. The tattoo was the evidence, the mark, the signature of a mission that the world had been told never existed. His hands twitched. He felt the weight of every loss, every erased report, every untold story. He remembered friends lost, operations buried, names removed from records, medals stripped from histories. And yet, there she was, standing quietly, a mother in blue jeans, ordinary and extraordinary simultaneously. The paradox stunned him. The training that had prepared him for threats did not prepare him for this. This was history in motion. This was the past confronting the present in flesh and ink. Brenda's calm gaze swept across the parade ground, eyes scanning for her son. Hayes couldn't move. The tattoo drew him, held him, demanded recognition. Every detail mattered: the coiled snakes, the K-bar, the date etched precisely. To the untrained eye, it was a design. To Hayes, it was confirmation, a proof, evidence of an entire covert operation erased from official memory. The team had survived, she had survived, and they had left a mark, a legacy invisible to history, yet indelible on her skin. The realization cut him to the bone. She had done it all without recognition. No medals, no news stories, no accolades. The world had forgotten her. The government had erased her existence, rewriting history, hiding records, sanitizing archives. But here she was, alive, witnessing her son's graduation, alive, commanding attention without speaking, alive, carrying the story of war, of lives saved, of history concealed beneath her sleeve. And Hayes, young, arrogant, rule-bound, suddenly understood the weight of what he had been blind to. The crowd cheered, unaware of the tectonic shift beneath their feet. Drum beats echoed, boots struck concrete, flags snapped in the wind, and families smiled, snapping photos. But Hayes could hear only the thrum of his own heart, the rapid pulse of recognition and disbelief, the quiet fury at the government that had erased every record of what had happened. How many had died because the world refused to see? How many had been forgotten, hidden in archives that no one would ever touch? And there she stood, a mother, seemingly ordinary, carrying decades of heroism in a quiet tattoo. The audacity of it, the injustice, made his blood burn.
Slowly, the flashbacks tightened, the memories sharpening. He saw her in a bombed-out city, dust and blood coating her hands, moving calmly among the injured, ignoring her own danger, guiding men to safety, her skill absolute, her courage unyielding. The team had thought her lost, the world had thought her gone, and yet she survived, unrecognized, anonymous, bearing a story that could not be told publicly. And the tattoo, small, subtle, black ink, was her silent testimony, her proof to those who knew how to read it. Every thought collided in Hayes's mind: anger, guilt, respect, fear. How many others had been lost because her work had remained secret? How many stories were buried, like hers, in archives the public would never see? And now, suddenly, one had returned. One had returned to the parade ground, invisible to everyone else, carrying an entire history on her skin. Hayes could feel the weight of that past pressing down on him, shaking the foundation of everything he thought he understood about war, about survival, about history itself. Brenda adjusted her sleeve slightly. Hayes noticed it, again and again, the pattern of the snakes, the K-bar, the date. Slowly, understanding dawned. The tattoo was not a memorial for a lost mission. It was a mark of belonging, of survival, of secrecy maintained for decades. The unit had been covert, officially erased from every record, names removed, faces vanished, achievements unacknowledged. She had been the silent backbone, the one holding everything together while the rest of the world assumed everyone was dead. The captain's mind raced. He had thought all of them gone. He had mourned them privately, honoring ghosts he believed he would never meet again. And yet, here she was, alive, standing in plain sight. His respect battled with disbelief, fear, awe, and guilt, all compressing into one explosive, silent realization. She had defied death, defied history, defied official records. And now she was watching her son, proud, ordinary, human, yet carrying a legacy that the world had tried to obliterate, had endured. The drum beats, the flags, the brass, the proud families, they were irrelevant now. Everything else faded. Hayes could feel the weight of decades, of lives saved and lost, of history erased and rewritten, pressing down on him. He had only one clear thought repeating in a loop. She survived. She survived. And her son? Her son should not even exist. The sun had climbed higher, casting a harsh, almost accusatory light on the parade ground. Families cheered, boots struck the asphalt in perfect rhythm, and the band's notes filled the air with pride. But the world had shifted. What had started as a graduation ceremony was no longer simple celebration. Captain Hayes's eyes never left Brenda Lo. Every step she took seemed to reverberate through his very bones. Her calm, ordinary movements now carried the weight of history, of secrets, of lives saved in silence. And then he saw it. The boy, Adam, marching in formation. Something in Hayes's gut twisted, sharp and sudden. Adam's cadence, his posture, the set of his jaw, it was all familiar in a way that defied explanation. He had not seen him before, and yet a memory whispered, fragments of a puzzle half-remembered, a covert mission, a hidden family, survival against impossible odds. The truth clawed at him. This boy, this son, was not just a child of a soldier. He was the living legacy of that erased mission, the continuation of a story the world tried to bury, and the revelation struck Hayes like a thunderbolt. Brenda watched her son, hands clasped, eyes soft but unwavering. The calm mother, the quiet figure in blue, held the entire weight of history in her gaze. The crowd did not notice, could not comprehend what their eyes had glimpsed in the arc of a single glance. This was no ordinary graduation. This was an unveiling, a reckoning, a quiet triumph that only those trained to read history in faces and posture could understand. Adam's steps carried the legacy of survival, of secrecy, of courage, and in that moment, Hayes understood the unthinkable. This boy, this son, was connected to the mission in ways no one had dared to imagine. The parade halted briefly, a ceremonial pause, and Hayes felt a surge of urgency. Protocol, chain of command, decorum, all of it mattered less than truth. He moved forward, deliberately, publicly, against every regulation ingrained in him since boot camp. The crowd noticed the motion, the deviation. Murmurs rose, faces turned, confusion rippling outward, whispers of curiosity and concern. Hayes, young officer, rule-bound, now became an agent of revelation. He could no longer obey the rules blindly. He had seen too much. He had understood too much. Everyone, listen. His voice broke through the murmur, authoritative yet charged with emotion. The cadence of his words interrupted the music, paused the boots striking the ground. Silence fell, electric, palpable. All eyes turned. Families froze mid-cheer. Cameras paused, capturing the anomaly. Hayes stood before Brenda and Adam, his chest tight with adrenaline and awe. The world shifted under the bright Carolina sun. A secret, decades buried, was about to be unveiled in plain sight. Brenda remained calm, her eyes soft, steady, understanding. She knew this moment would come, though she had not asked for it. The son she had raised, the boy who marched proudly in formation, carried more than his mother's love. He carried history, erased and forbidden, alive in his veins. And now, standing there, the weight of decades pressed on them all. The truth was no longer hidden. It demanded recognition, demanded breath, demanded understanding.
Hayes's voice trembled slightly, then steadied. This young man, Adam Lo, is not only a Marine recruit graduating today, he said, pausing to let the words settle. He is the living continuation of a classified mission executed over 20 years ago in Europe and the Middle East. His mother, Brenda Lo, was not merely a parent watching today. She was the silent backbone, the one who kept that mission alive when the world thought it had been lost forever. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers turned into audible murmurs. Families exchanged puzzled glances. Some thought they were witnessing a protocol breach, a scandal. Others felt the gravity of revelation without fully understanding. But Hayes pressed on, compelled by the weight of history, the responsibility to honor what had been hidden too long.
"The tattoo you saw on her wrist," he said, gesturing subtly, "is not a simple design. It marks a covert unit, erased from all official records, a symbol of survival, loyalty, and lives saved in absolute secrecy. That boy should not exist. According to the records, he shouldn't be here at all." The words hung, heavy and impossible. Silence, absolute, settled over the parade ground. Boots, flags, music, all became background noise. Families watched, confused but caught in the gravity of something larger, something invisible yet undeniable. Adam stood rigid, trained Marine posture perfect, yet his eyes betrayed comprehension. He looked at his mother, and in that glance, decades of hidden history passed between them. The weight of unspoken stories, of battles fought silently, of governments erasing names and deeds, pressed down in that instant. Brenda's voice finally broke the silence, soft but firm, carrying authority and truth. "My son exists because he was never meant to," she said, slow, deliberate. The words struck deeper than any official report, deeper than medals or commendations. The crowd sensed the gravity, even if they did not understand the full story. Every eye that lingered on her felt the weight of invisible wars, the sacrifices of unnamed heroes, the quiet endurance of mothers who carried battles in silence. Hayes's chest tightened. Respect, awe, fear, guilt, all collided in a perfect storm. He realized that the government, the bureaucracy, the files, all had tried to erase her, erase him, erase the boy. Yet here they were, undeniable, living proof of courage, survival, and legacy. Every regulation, every protocol, every rule he had been trained to enforce paled in comparison to the truth unfolding before him. He had seen history, and it was standing, breathing, walking among them. The parade resumed, but it was different. Every step, every drumbeat, every note carried new weight. Families cheered, but it was filtered through the lens of unspoken history. Adam's steps echoed with meaning beyond the ceremony. Every movement was a testament to survival, to secrecy, to lives saved at an unimaginable cost. The air was charged with emotion, a mixture of awe, confusion, and respect. Hayes, standing rigid yet trembling, understood that the world had shifted, even if no one else fully realized it. Brenda watched the crowd, her eyes scanning familiar faces, strangers, recruits, officers, all unaware of the magnitude of what had just been revealed. Her son completed his march, and she felt the swell of pride, tempered with the knowledge of what had come before. She had carried wars in silence, hidden truths in quiet grace, and now those truths were emerging, in fragments, to a world unprepared. The lesson was clear. Freedom is paid for by unnamed people, and history is shaped by those who survive in the shadows. Hayes, public and unshaken by rank or decorum, took a step forward, saluting Brenda with a reverence that shook the assembled Marines. The gesture, raw and unfiltered, broke protocol. Officers exchanged startled glances, whispers rippling through ranks. Some gasped, others froze, yet none could deny the authenticity, the depth of respect and acknowledgement contained in that single act. The entire parade ground felt it. The story of survival, secrecy, and courage had landed, impossible to ignore. Adam's eyes met his mother's. The connection was profound, unspoken, elemental. No medals, no speeches, no records could convey the weight of history compressed into a single glance. His presence was living proof that the past, though buried, could not be erased. The parade was no longer a ceremony. It was a recognition, a reckoning, a celebration of truth that governments had tried to hide. The audience felt it in their bones, whether they understood it fully or not. Brenda's gaze softened but remained firm. "The world may never know all of our names," she said, slow, breaking, yet commanding. "But the truth survives in those who carry it forward. We are here. We exist. We remember." The crowd was silent.
The weight of history, of courage unacknowledged, pressed on every soul present. It was a lesson in survival, sacrifice, and the invisible battles fought by ordinary people whose lives intersected with extraordinary events. Slow, broken narration followed, drifting like smoke over the parade ground. The music softened, the boots slowed. Families remained frozen in a moment they would not forget, even if they could not name why. The sun reflected off brass, and for a fleeting heartbeat, the world seemed both larger and smaller at once. There were no happy endings here, only truth, hard, unyielding, beautiful in its quiet weight. The mother who survived, the son who should not exist, the hero erased by history. Everything converged in the silence between drumbeats, between cheers, between breaths. Finally, Brenda's eyes met the camera, the invisible lens through which the story of her courage would travel. Her voice, soft, calm, resonant. If this channel made even a small place in your heart, then honor the stories you see. Subscribe, leave a like, comment below where in the world you are watching from. Share in the legacy and carry forward the respect due to those who fought, suffered, and survived unseen. The crowd began to exhale collectively, understanding dawning too slowly, too quietly. The parade moved on, the ceremonies concluded, but the weight of truth lingered. Hayes stood, saluting still, forever changed. Adam, proud yet humbled, walked beside his mother, carrying a legacy invisible to most, visible to those who could read it. And the world, for one blazing moment, remembered heroes who never asked to be known.